Hey there, and welcome back to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Levitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore, and technician Adam Littlefield. You can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200. Or if you have a comment during the show, we'd love to hear it. Use that open mic feature inside the WDBO app. And now, back to David and Adam.
All right. Thanks, Greg, and thanks, everybody, for listening to yet another edition of Tech Talk with Refresh Computers. If you missed anything that we talked about in our last segment, which we talked a lot about my upcoming trip to Dead Horse, Alaska, and a lot of the tech that I'll be using during that trip, you can recap that by going to refreshcomputers.net, clicking on that podcast link, and you'll be able to listen to this show in its entirety. But while you're also there on that page, you'll be able to see bulleted items of everything that we talked about. So in case you don't have time to listen, or if you want to just kind of scan through what we're talking about before you listen, you can do that as well right there at refreshcomputers.net. And better yet, scroll down to the bottom of the page and put in your email address and just click submit. That's all we ask for. We don't need anything else. We just want your email address if you want to get notified whenever a new podcast is published. And you'll get notified, of course, via the email address that you gave us, and with a link included. When you get that email, that'll take you right to the podcast that we just published. So, and this show here on WDBO is a radio show, of course, and we love doing it here on WDBO, but we convert it with the help of Greg here, who sends us the audio files. We convert it into that podcast that you can listen to anytime you want to at your leisure. And it's actually commercial free right there on the website. So it's about 40 minutes or so of listening if you are inclined to do so. So sales tax holiday, we'll keep bringing this up because it starts tomorrow. The sales tax holiday on all computers and computer equipment. So any accessories that go with computers are included. So including something like a monitor.
Like a second monitor.
We stock hundreds of LCD monitors, all different sizes right there at the Refresh Computer Superstore in Longwood. And you can, come in and pick up your second monitor, third monitor, fourth monitor.
Right.
We have monitor stands that we sell there that hold 4 monitors. We have another monitor stand set up that holds 6 monitors. If you're into that, day traders like all these. So we have all that right there at Refresh Computers, and you can come in and see that. And one thing that we didn't mention in yesterday's show or yet today is the fact you can also go online and buy all of this stuff tax-free. Again, that's refreshcomputers.net. And so, again, it also has to be under $1,500.
Right.
And you pay no sales tax. You can buy it online. So the sales tax holiday, you don't actually have to be in the store to take advantage of it. It's also good online. So you can buy any of the accessories right there at refreshcomputers.net. At your second monitor or, your computer or laptop. If you want to upgrade to something better than what you have, you can do that right there at refreshcomputers.net and not pay any sales tax. That starts tomorrow, and it's all the way through,
I believe,
August 20th.
Yep.
So,
and I want to chime in too on getting a second monitor. Years ago, I actually used to work from home, and the biggest change I made working from home that helped so much was getting a second monitor.
You improve productivity up 50%.
It is. There's no alt tabbing 1,000 times when you're checking something and typing on something. It's just you got it on one monitor. While you're looking at it, you're typing on your main monitor, and you can look back and forth easily.
And USB-C has made it so easy to expand your workstation, even up to 3 and 4 monitors. So it's definitely an upgrade if you haven't made already. Now's the time to do it.
Right.
And if you don't have a USB-C connector on your computer, we sell
adapters,
USB-C hubs there.
And hubs, yep.
At Refresh Computers, where you can connect 2-3 monitors to your laptop or your computer right from the USB-C hub that we have right there at Refresh Computers. So don't forget, again, sales tax holiday for computers and laptops and all the accessories begins tomorrow, and it's going to be through August 20th.
And the reason for that sale, school is right around the corner. We'll talk about some of those needs that you'll have here coming up for the upcoming school year right here on Tech Talk on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Hey there, and welcome to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Levitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore, and technician Adam Littlefield. You can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200. Or if you have a comment during the show, you can use that open mic feature inside the WDBO app. You can also check out the website over at refreshcomputers.net or stop in at the Refresh Computer Superstore in Longwood at 820 East State Road 434, just 3.5 miles east of I-4. Store hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. And now for David Levitt and Adam Littlefield.
All right. Thanks, Greg. And thanks, everybody, for listening to this Sunday morning edition of Tech Talk with Refresh Computers. And boy, we have another packed show today full of tech stuff. And one of the things we're going to be talking about is how to stay connected where you are. Like if you're around no cell towers and, no bars for 200 miles, if you're on the road like I'm going to be, and we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. I'm going to be on the road here for an extended period of time coming up, tomorrow. I'll be leaving, and Adam will be doing the show for us for the next several weeks, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we are then going to talk about some cheap upgrades that nobody thinks of, things like a second computer screen and stuff like that you can take advantage of the sales tax holiday that's starting tomorrow, that you can actually buy not just computers and laptops, but computer monitors and accessories without paying sales tax. That starts tomorrow. And then while we're on that subject, we're also going to get into, getting ready for back to school, because back to school starting Tuesday, August 11th, if you're in Orange County, and Monday, August 10th, if you're in Seminole County. Why can't they just make it the same day?
You would think,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's practically here, though.
I couldn't imagine starting school. I believe that's Tuesday, the 11th. I can't imagine starting it a day late.
Can I have one more day before I go to school? Oh, sure. You'll start Tuesday.
Well, if you're going to give me that one day, you might as well give me the rest of the week, Dave.
Good point. And then we'll finish the show off today with how to turn anything into a PDF without a printer. On yesterday's show, we talked about how to capture anything with your iPhone or your Galaxy phone, and, being able to turn that into a PDF without buying any or using any extra app. But now we're going to, at the end of today's show, we'll talk about turning anything into a PDF without a printer on your computer and other devices. So stay tuned for that. So let's get into how to stay connected when you're on the road, which is a timely topic for me. We talked about some of this in previous episodes, right? Because I tend to do a little bit of traveling.
Yeah. We talked a lot about Starlink and, their satellite connectivity. And that's one of the major things now, really, that's being used, like you said, for road trips.
And I'm going to be taking an extended road trip. I'm actually going to do another one of my dreams. In January of this year, I drove to the end of the world south, right? And all the way to Ushuaia, Argentina, through the Caratara Astral, which is one of the most beautiful drives anywhere, and a challenging drive, a lot of rocky roads, with cliffs, with no guardrails.
I can only imagine how that felt in your RV.
And so it was an awesome road trip. And so I'm going to fulfill the other end of that dream, and that is drive to the end of the road north.
Ooh.
So I'll be going to a place called Dead Horse, Alaska. And that's basically the end of the road.
Right.
And before I go there, I'm actually going to be driving to the end of the road in Canada, all the way to the Arctic Ocean. You can actually get to the Arctic Ocean driving in Canada. Now, Dead Horse, Alaska is Prudhoe Bay. It's not the Arctic Ocean, but you've already crossed the Arctic Circle to get there. So I'm going to be doing that trip, and I'm leaving actually tomorrow. And maybe I can call in and, be part of an episode while I'm on the road, and it'd be kind of fun. The road trip is going to be a total of 16,000 miles.
Wow.
So, yeah, a lot of mileage to put on the RV, but you know what? I didn't buy it to sit.
Yeah.
I certainly
and
didn't.
And you definitely didn't buy the upgrades for it to let those sit either. Because a lot of those upgrades are going to make the traveling a lot easier. I know that your coverage specifically was always a concern for you, and you've kind of got that squared away. I knew you were telling me you just got solar panels installed on it as well.
Upgraded solar panels, and I have the type of RV that I don't need to be connected to anything for probably a week or two. I mean, I can just, which is our preferred way to travel. I'm not a fan of RV parks. I'm just not. I know a lot of people depend on them and really rely on them, but not me. I try to avoid them as much as possible. Every once in a while, we'll stay at one when we have to. We have to empty some tanks, and fortunately, I have the type of black tank that I don't have to worry about too much. I have extra cassettes, that I can use, and all I need is a toilet anywhere to empty that tank, which is kind of nice. I don't have to look for a space or a place to actually dump a black tank, which is one of the key factors of being able to be out for a week or two without hooking up to anything. So, in the United States, there's roughly 500,000 square miles that has zero cell phone coverage.
Can you say that number for me again?
500,000 square miles.
Man.
Of no cell phone coverage in the U.S. right
None.
now.
Just not one bar. That's zero coverage.
And so, but that's actually not bad news if you need to send text today if you have the right phone.
Right phone and the right phone plan.
And the right
normally.
phone plan, because you can still send and receive text via satellite, thanks to Elon Musk. Just through a program that they did with T-Mobile, and you don't, even though it's through T-Mobile, they extend it to the other carriers as well. I'm not sure why or how that works, why it only can go through one carrier first and then spread out to the other carriers. Must be a technical thing, I don't know, or maybe it's a money thing with T-Mobile, but it's something that they do. So it's just with T-Mobile, but even though it's with T-Mobile, if you have AT&T or Verizon, you can still do it. It just happens to come through T-Mobile to get to you.
Yeah. I can imagine the hardware to receive that sort of signal is probably very expensive. So it is probably cheaper, I would say, for a lot of those other companies to just route through T-Mobile's hardware to get it instead of building their own receiver.
Right.
One thing, though, that I was going to mention, too, is, like Dave said, texting is really achievable now over satellite. Gone is the day of what movies used to show as a satellite phone, a big old brick with 5-foot-long antenna that you had to pull out to be able to connect to anything. Now it's, most of our smartphones that are in our pockets or sitting on a desk, wherever they may be.
Well, and keep in mind, it's just texting. It's not. You can't text video. You can't text. You can't send a picture.
Can't send multimedia.
Can't send multimedia. Via the text. Not yet. That's coming though.
Right.
We have
as all technology does, it grows, and we're going to be able to get that. And I imagine at some point we'll be able to do full-on phone calls, through satellite, probably FaceTime as well, video calls, and have no connection problems.
Yeah, we're seeing all of these different satellite companies starting to come through since, SpaceX and the Starlink satellites are really kind of the innovators on that. You're also seeing other companies that are backed by like Amazon and Jeff Bezos and things like that. It's just going to continue to expand.
It is. And I'm looking forward to that. I am, because the competition certainly helps price points. Yeah. So put it that way.
It's always exciting to see, too, the competition, how it fuels ingenuity and just development, just new stuff coming out all the time. And that's really how we've gotten here to this point, because go back 20 or so years, being able to text and call from a device in your pocket was, a newer thing for tech.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about satellites sending that communication instead.
Well, and there's a lot of people like my wife and I that like to explore like the most remote places that we can actually get to.
Right.
And so, there's 3 different kinds of things that you can be aware of, right? That one is, you might be in a situation where someone needs to know that you're alive. Right. You could be so far remote and into some places that are kind of dangerous. And so you need to be able to do that. And another is, maybe you're in a place where you actually need to use the internet.
Right.
And the third problem is, I'm hurt and nobody's coming. So there's different answers for each one of these. So most people buy the wrong one for the problem they actually have. So fortunately for me, I've taken the advantage of using a permanently mounted Starlink satellite on my RV. So it doesn't really matter where I'm at as long as I'm not under an awning somewhere or under a big tree canopy. And I'm going to have internet all the time. And through that internet service, I can, use Wi-Fi calling to make phone calls and receive phone calls. So I'm always going to be available. And so that's kind of, that is a bit of an expensive way to go. Yeah. The Starlink service for that type of roaming service, they call it, is about $165 a month that you have to pay Starlink to have that type of permanent service. Now, Starlink has other plans starting at around $50 a month that is less of a permanent type of setup, and they don't really call them the roaming plan. So you can get the Starlink Mini, for example, and the way it's supposed to be used is if when you're stopped somewhere, you can take the antenna and stick it out and use the internet that way. But I know a lot of people actually take that antenna and figure out a way to put it in the windshield and still use it while they're quote unquote roaming or driving.
I will tell you, I know somebody like that has it. They have a Tesla Cybertruck, and because of the large amount of real estate on the front of the Cybertruck, they're able to set that right there in front under their windshield.
And it works. And it does work.
Used it on a trip to Niagara Falls.
I've seen people on other models put it on the inside, actually, just on the top glass, just right there, so it's always pointed up. But, a big question I want to ask you, Dave, though, is, you're going all the way to Dead Horse, Alaska. How's your satellite panel going to handle any snow that it might get on it? Can't imagine it'll be a lot, but I mean, it's a good question to have.
Well, first of all, I'm hoping that we leave early enough, and I know a lot of people that have been to Alaska or maybe are from Alaska are probably screaming, "You better hit the road soon, Dave. Your time is already running out." I know.
The clock is ticking.
Yeah. And, we had some family stuff going on. I couldn't leave any earlier, so I'll throw that out there. We're leaving as early as we can possibly leave. But I know we have to, do it in a way I don't typically like to travel is we have to just get there. So, the first leg of the trip is actually going to go through north. I've never been to Mount Rushmore. I've been to every national park I think there is out west and Glacier up in Montana, but I've never been to Mount Rushmore. So we're heading right there first, and then from there straight through Canada up to the Arctic Ocean, and then we're going to come back. You have to come back down a little ways and then go back up to get to Dead Horse. So we should be in Dead Horse probably by, I would say, middle to the end of August, which is like the last drop dead date that you should be driving that far north.
Right.
Because already it might be snowing at that point. So I don't have to answer your question.
Yeah.
I'm hoping not to have to worry about the snow getting up there. But if it does, and then I'm someplace that we might be stuck for a few days, hey, my RV's rated for 20 degrees below zero.
Right.
So
there you go.
I know some of Starlink panels as well, they actually have a heating element in them. It was a little bit of a loaded question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I know some of them melt snow off of them if they detect a bad signal due to obstruction.
Yeah, I don't think my satellite has that.
Okay.
Although, I have the biggest and best one that that Starlink sells, but I don't think it has that defrost mode.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most of these satellite panels are already like hungry little computers, They're pulling 50 to 75 watts just continuously running. So putting in heating elements going to pull harder.
True, and that's the other thing that, I had to consider. I actually have a couple of extra, lithium battery banks in this RV, which is what helps me be able to stay out for a week or two at a time without being hooked up to anything. Of course, we have a generator also in there. 2 full tanks of propane. So, we're good for a few weeks.
You've got a generator, batteries, you've got solar on the roof. I'm sure you have an inverter.
A big inverter.
You've told me how you can control certain functions of your RV through an app. It's starting to sound like your RV is more of like a rolling data center than it is a recreational vehicle.
Well, it's part of that too, because guess what? I will be doing work on the road. So, it's not all going to be fun and games and exploring, which we love to do. There'll be some work going on too, and I'll call into the show too. But, we still have this show to finish. And so we're going to take a break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some, upgrades that you might not have thought about, and especially you can take advantage of now that the sales tax holiday starts tomorrow on computers and computer-related equipment.
Quick weather update from Dead Horse, Alaska. Monday, 43 degrees as a high, 35 degrees as a low. So enjoy your trip up north there, Dave. You've been listening to Tech Talk right here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Hey there, and welcome to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Levitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore, and technician Adam Littlefield. You can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200. Or if you have a comment during the show, we'd love to hear it. Use that open mic feature inside the WDBO app. You can also check out the website over at refreshcomputers.net or stop in at the Refresh Computer Superstore in Longwood at 820 East State Road 434, just 3.5 miles east of I-4. Store hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. And now, for David Levitt and Adam Littlefield.
All right. Thanks, Greg, and thanks, everybody, for listening to this tax-free edition of Tech Talk with Refresh Computers, sales tax-free, that is, because the sales tax holiday officially starts tomorrow for any computer or laptop or accessories, computer or laptop accessories, and a whole bunch of other things that we talked about on yesterday's show. And if you want to catch up on that and just see exactly what is included in the sales tax holiday that starts tomorrow all the way through August 20th, go to refreshcomputers.net, click on that podcast link, and you'll be able to find yesterday's show. You can click on that, and right there will be bulletized all of the things that are included in the sales tax holiday that's starting tomorrow. So we talked about that at length in yesterday's show. So we're not going to repeat it today, but you can catch it all just by going to refreshcomputers.net and clicking on that podcast link. And so we're talking about, back to school. Again, it's Orange County is Tuesday, August 11th. Seminole County is August 10th, Monday, August 10th. I'm not sure when Osceola County is or Volusia County is, but it's going to be, around that same time. And, throughout the entire, the WDBO listening audience is quite vast all over Central Florida. So it's not just Orange County and Seminole County, but, back to school starting soon.
Right.
Pretty soon. We're 3 weeks and change away from that. And so maybe it's time to start thinking about, buying all your kids' supplies and, figuring out what your kids need for back to school. Schools give a list, right? They've been doing that since, heck, I was a kid. We used to have to bring home a list of the parents,
a syllabus,
I believe. You go to the parents'
right.
night and pick up the list, go to the school and get the list. And so you can figure out what they need. And a lot of times,
for reference, Osceola goes back the same time as Seminole. So they'll both be back on that Monday. Orange County is
Orange County's
the Tuesday.
Just that Tuesday.
Whatever.
On that Tuesday. So, one more day for the Orange County kids. But that must mean that they have to stay an extra day too.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Or maybe they have one less makeup day or something. I don't know, because I know systems have built-in makeup days. So anyway, what does your kid need for computing? Right,
whether they go back to school on Monday or Tuesday.
That's right.
Right.
So typically it's going to be just your everyday, let's just say, boring laptop, right?
Boring office computer, basically.
And we would recommend the business class because they are much more durable than the consumer class, laptops and desktops. So, the business class have better keyboards, sturdier hinges, business class laptops are actually built to be repaired because they're in a business environment typically. So, and we sell mostly business class laptops at Refresh Computers. So you might want to consider that type of laptop. It's just a lot more sturdier, something that you can put in, your backpack and not worry about it so much as you would a consumer grade.
Something that you talk about all the time is how they have the stronger hinges, some of these titanium-made hinges, things like that. I can only imagine that's more advantageous to somebody who's opening and closing this going in between classes all day, as opposed to usually how you use your laptop at home, right? It sits on the laptop until you're done with it.
That's right. And I can tell you, we repair laptop hinges all the time. And 99% of them are from consumer grade machines.
Right.
Because they just don't last as long. They're plasticky. You can even hear them clicking sometimes when you open the lid. And they're just not built well. And I mentioned that, you can take these and throw them in your backpack. But speaking of backpacks, just for you listeners out there, you will be able to pick up a free Lenovo backpack. And these are great backpacks for schools, too, for your kid. Because these Lenovo backpacks will hold a laptop up to 15.6-inch screen, laptop backpack. So it has a full strap over your back, made out of really sturdy material. It's Lenovo. It's a really nice brand. And so we're giving these away with every laptop purchase. So you buy a laptop, you get a free Lenovo backpack, free. Yep. And so, no sales tax on a laptop is great because you get no sales tax charged on it. No sales tax on zero is also great because it's zero anyway. So
yeah, don't get into dividing by zero though, Dave. We'll start breaking the show if we start getting there.
So you get that free backpack, and and really, I'm not mentioning this anywhere else in any other. No advertising, nothing like that. So if you're a listener to this show, just mention it. Hey, Dave says you'll give me a free backpack, Lenovo backpack, if I buy a laptop.
A radio show and podcast exclusive.
That's right.
Exactly.
And
if you haven't yet, I would also suggest on our website, refreshcomputers.net, you can listen to all of our podcasts. In the top right corner, there's the podcast link right there. All of our podcasts going back years, have all of our summaries on them. But you can also go to the bottom of any page, put in your email address right there. That's all we ask for. And you can sign up for our newsletters that'll provide you, updates on when we put out a new episode like this, as well as our Refresh Insider deals email that we send out.
That's right.
So this kind of information, you'll be in that little exclusivity bubble.
That's right. So we call it the Refresh Insiders Club, actually. Yep. So you'll be able to get notification of new shows that came out. As soon as they are published, you'll get the email. And every Monday morning, usually around 7 a.m., there's an email that goes out with the latest and greatest that has come into the Refresh Computer Store for sales. So usually about 3 laptops and 3 desktops, and maybe a gaming system or something will be included in that email. So let's talk a little bit about parental controls because it's important.
It's important for kids going back to school. You want to make sure that they're not just goofing off playing games on that nice laptop you bought them to take to school. So get into a little bit of these steps that people can take, Dave.
Yeah, and so this could be your child's first computer.
Yeah,
right? Could be the first laptop, first desktop if you decide to go that way. And or even if it's not their first one, you need to be aware of on Windows-based machines. So the Microsoft Family Safety on Windows. So it's actually a program built in to Windows. It's called Microsoft Family Safety. And on Apple, it's called Screen Time on Apple. Google Family Link for Android and Chromebooks. So they're all free. They're all built in. You can do things like you can set up screen time limits, so how long the screen will actually be on, and then you control it with your password, so they can't override it. So if it surpasses the amount of time that the computer's on, it shuts it down. It doesn't let them continue.
I think it also does give you an activity report as well, based on what application or program was being used the most. So, you may give your kid 8 hours a day and you send them to school and look at the report and they're playing 7 hours of Roblox the whole day.
They absolutely do include those activity reports. And so you can see what your child has been doing on that computer the whole time they were using it. You can use the same apps to filter content.
Right.
So you can say they can go to this type of website, but not this type of website. They can do this type of thing, but not that type of thing. And so, you can approve apps that they can install and stuff like that. So that's something that's really important. Again, it's called Microsoft Family Safety on Windows, Screen Time on Apple, Google's Family Link for Android and Chromebooks. So again, all free, and they're already built in. You don't have to download anything. It's already part of your computer. And every one of these manufacturers have been providing this type of service for years now. And a lot of people just never realized it because, well, maybe you never needed it before.
Right.
Maybe it's the first time your child's been given access to a computer or a laptop, or your grandchild. You might want to tell, have their parents set up something like this on their computer. And again, you don't have to remember any of this because you can go to refreshcomputers.net, click on the podcast link, and right there, you'll see all of this spelled out right there on the page. You can listen to the whole show, but you'll also see all the bullet points of these things that we just pointed out right here on WDBO. So
one bit of advice I want to give, as a little bit of a younger person is, going through and setting these sorts of systems up. Do it with your kid there.
Yes,
don't hide
absolutely.
It's something that I remember as a kid, my family had an internet nanny thing on our computer and something else. And I'll tell you what, I was never explained about why it was there. It was just there one day. And that became the biggest mission of mine to just break. And I did.
Right.
I got out of it.
Of course you did.
Exactly. So, it's something that when you set it up with your kid, explaining to them why you're putting it on there, more than half the time, they do understand. Kids aren't ignorant to that sort of thing.
I'll give them even better shots at that more than half the time.
Right.
My son, we have certain rules and things set up for him for tablet use, kind of similar to how these things are set up as well. And it's not so much that we're telling him that we don't trust him. It's that we don't trust everybody else on the internet, whether it be fake information that's being used on what's supposed to be a kid's show or things like that. So, yeah, explain to them more about the reasons that you're concerned about everybody else and why it's going to help them and build trust between the both of you. It's a good little conversation to have.
And it also, it opens the door as well to teaching your kids a little bit of internet safety and just, technology safety in general, because our computers are a door to the internet. They're a door to the rest of the world. And like Greg was saying, it's not that you don't trust your kids, you don't trust everybody else on the internet.
Well, true. And then, so another tip while we're there is make sure you set up a cloud backup account on your kid's laptop or desktop. Just like you should have already on your computer. Make sure there is something being backed up to the cloud, whether it be Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox, any of these things. Everything that you save on that computer, school related or not, should be saved in a folder that's automatically connected to one of these online holding places.
And that's a really good point too, because I remember, back when I was in school, I'd be typing up, assignments. Of course, I'm doing them the night before they're due because that was the type of student I was. I procrastinated. It's something that if the computer suddenly shuts off, having this cloud backup that's constantly saving is going to save your kid a lot of time. And I will say it'll save you a lot of headache not hearing, Mom, I didn't finish my essay last night. My computer turned off and deleted it. So something to keep in mind, again, having that cloud storage. And when you set up the computer too, you can actually set up different users. So, say your account, for example, as a parent, you can make it an administrator. And then for your kid, you make them a standard user. That'll stop them from being able to install programs on the computer. So there's nothing malicious that can be installed. But the main thing is that actually separates your files from your kids' files.
Oh, that's very important.
I've had a couple customers who, have had their kids getting up to college, they're graduating, and now they have to figure out, how do I
separate
take apart
everything.
This mess of the last 8 years of my documents mixed with my kids' documents? What can I get rid of? What can I get rid of?
So make sure they have their own login.
Exactly.
Basically is what you're saying, right? And then that helps keep things separate. So
exactly.
Don't forget. And so again, so setting up your kid's computer is great. So, and first of all, the tax break saves you a few bucks, right? So
it's already a great start to that.
That's nice, but saving up or setting up that laptop correctly can save you the whole school year.
Exactly.
Because you got to make sure that the data's always going to be there, and that, it's accessible. So no matter where you are.
And, a couple things before we get to the break here. This is hardware. These devices, whether or not you buy an expensive one, you're still spending money on it, and kids will be kids. So a couple things I can say here: put a label on that machine. The first name, your last initial, a phone number. Lost and found bins are full of identical laptops. Always are. Make sure there's something on there that can help you distinguish it as your device. And also turn on the Find My settings on a lot of these devices.
Point. Yeah.
So if something gets misplaced, or, I say just God forbid something gets stolen, you have a way to be able to find that location of that device.
As long as it's turned on.
As long as it's turned on.
Connected, so.
And if you're listening to the show, don't forget to ask for that free Lenovo backpack to help protect that new device here throughout the school year. You've been listening to Tech Talk right here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Hey there, and welcome back to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Levitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore, and technician Adam Littlefield. You can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200. And don't forget to check out the website at refreshcomputers.net. And now, back to David and Adam.
All right. Thanks, Greg. And thanks, everybody, for listening to Tech Talk with Refresh Computers. Another really great show. We tied a lot into the sales tax holiday that's starting tomorrow on computers and accessories. So if you missed any of that, you can go to the refreshcomputers.net website, click on that podcast link. You can listen to the show in its entirety, and you can also look at all the bullet points of things that we talked about, the stuff that you normally would have wished you had a pencil that you can write down, but you couldn't because you're driving or you're busy, you got your hands full. But now you don't have to worry about any of that, because through the magic of AI, all of these things that we talk about that you would normally want to write down are, guess what, already detailed right there in bullet point format, right there on the website, right alongside the link that you can click on to listen to the show. So it's really cool that we've been able to do that. So go to refreshcomputers.net, click on that podcast link, and that's where you'll find it. So we're going to finish the show off today with another Windows tip, basically turning anything into a PDF without a printer.
Yeah. This is something we kind of talked about, I would say, last episode, yesterday, using your phone. But this is actually a nice integrated feature with Windows that I've actually been teaching a lot of my customers that have been coming in lately how to use. Because it's almost like taking a screenshot and getting it in a PDF in one quick sweep.
It's real nice. And speaking of screenshots, I want to get this in because we're going to talk a little bit more about how to do this on Windows and also on a Mac and on your phone. But nearly every browser has a reading mode. So a lot of times, when you want to print what you're looking at in your browser, or save it as a PDF, for example, you get all the ads, you get everything is right there, whatever is displayed on your screen. But if you put it in junk, you get all the junk. But if you can put it in reading mode, then before you click the print to PDF, you get just the article. No ads, no clutter. So it's a cleaner file, less paper if you do print it. So it's just something to remember, to use reading mode before you click print to PDF. But go ahead, Adam. How to do it on a Windows machine?
So on Windows, it's as simple as printing a page. I'm sure everybody that's done some printing before knows that you hit Control-P. That opens up the printing menu. Well, in the printer drop-down that's there, it'll normally say probably the brand of what printer you have. You can click that and pick the Microsoft Print to PDF button instead of your real printer, and then hit Print. And it'll ask you where you want to save it, and you hit Save, and that's it. You just saved it like a PDF, just like that.
So great for invoices, so great for order confirmations, for shipping, things like that. So, yeah. Yeah,
and Mac is very similar to that as well. Instead of Control-P, you do Command-P, because Mac had to be a little bit different with that shortcut. You look for the PDF drop-down in the corner and choose Save as PDF. I believe it'll ask you where to save that as well. Hit Save, and just like that. Easy.
Right there, yeah.
So on your phone, it's a little bit more involved. Not too much though. In most apps, you can tap share on whatever content you're looking at. I did it just through my gallery here a second ago. And you can hit print. From there,
one of the options when you click share is print.
To print. And from there, on my phone specifically, it gave me the option at the top to choose a printer. I select that and I hit save as PDF. On your phone, you may have to pinch it a little bit so it zooms it out, and then it'll give you the option to save it as a PDF. And on a lot of phones now, they integrate that as well, so you can directly send it to your email app and compose an email just in a couple taps. So it's a weird trick, but it's something that I've been teaching a lot of people because, like you were saying, Dave, saving a printout of a website, you get a lot of junk.
A lot of junk. So yeah, don't forget turning that browser into reading mode. Mm-hmm. So listen, folks, we're approaching the end of today's show. I just want to put one final reminder: is starting tomorrow through August 20th, you can buy your computer, your laptop, sales tax free in the state of Florida. As long as it's for personal use, not for business use, and under $1,500. If it's a $1,500.01, you have to pay sales tax on the whole thing. So it's not the first $1,500; it's any device that's under $1,500 is sales tax free. And I hope you can visit us at 820 East State Road 434, right there in Longwood. We're only 3.5 miles east of I-4. You can call us at 407-478-8200. And that's all we have time for today. I am going to be on the road tomorrow, and I'll be calling in and to give a viewpoint of where I might be from time to time. It'll be Adam and Greg starting next week for the next couple months, probably.
Yep.